I think that there are probably a lot of different ways of looking at this that are going to be a little eye-opening to people like us who are just thinking of it. This is the way it works. This is how we've always done it.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, actually, the way we've always done it might not be the best way. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. Andy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. It's a great chat going already, and we didn't even hit the record button, but we got it going now. The article popped up in kind of my news feed. I think it started with me on maybe Instagram. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been looking at Facebook the last couple of weeks, and I'm happier for it. But it's a Gizmodo.
Okay.
.com article. So it's written by Ed Cara, C-A-R-A. It was published July 21st, 2025. So credit to them.
Yeah.
Give you a quick rundown for everybody listening. I'll get them up to speed. You ready?
There you go. Go for it.
All right. New study bolsters public health case for a 4-day work week. And the subtitle says, workers at over 100 companies experienced greater job satisfaction and slept better once they switched to a shorter work schedule with no pay cut, researchers found. So, right off the top, like before we even get any explanation, you can imagine why. I mean, it caught my eye.
Yeah.
4-day work week, no pay cut.
Yep. I looked at that and then I immediately went to, we're talking about working 410s, but that's not what they're talking about.
No, it's not. So I'll go on to give it a little bit of background on it. I'm going to really, really pick and choose what I say out of this article. I'm not leaving anything out that might like sway anybody's opinion one way or another. I'm just trying to abbreviate for purpose of this conversation.
It's kind of a long read.
Yeah, it is a longer read. Scientists at Boston College led a study published Monday in Nature Human Behavior. It must be some type of medical publication. For 6 months, the researchers tracked the outcomes of nearly 3,000 workers at 141 businesses after they switched to a 4-day work week with no pay reduction. They also compared them to similar workers at jobs that stuck to a typical schedule. Ultimately, they found that 4-day workers reported greater job satisfaction and experienced less burnout than they did before the switch, as well as when compared to people working a 5-day week. These improvements were especially apparent in people who reduced their work time by 8 or more hours. So people maybe that were working previous were working overtime or a couple extra hours here and there.
Yep.
5 days. They're saying, hey, these people cut their amount of work that they did or amount of time they spent at work. They didn't cut their pay. And the article does go on to say that they were more productive,
right?
Like in their measured work output for whatever it is they do for the job. So 141 different businesses. They aren't all like manufacturing. They aren't all,
right.
It doesn't say anything about like service companies.
It doesn't. No. That was something that I was interested when reading it. I would guess I would like to see more of their data as to see what these companies did, right? If and I guess here's my line of thought on this. And because I've thought about it, because all of my guys forever and ever have asked, hey, sir, could we go to 410s? Could we work 410s? And from a service industry, I mean, you know the drill. I mean, it makes me think more about it more recently. Could we not work Fridays? I don't know why. I mean, we probably could. Are there going to be customers that are going to be pissed off when they call on Friday and they got a leak and we're closed? Sure are. But that's not any different than the customer having a leak on Saturday and we're closed.
I think that the solution isn't simple. I don't want to oversimplify it. And I'm not trying to run a business where I've got multiple employees or anything like that. But so I qualify it with that. But I think immediately my thought as regarding like what you're saying, like we try to offer our customer service when they call. I know I do that, and I do work on the weekends occasionally because of it. I'm open to calls coming in on a Saturday or Sunday and after hours because for many reasons I've explained in the past. The one thing I thought of, though, regarding service businesses was you'd almost have to just do let's say you got 4 people working for your company. You got 4 trucks on the road. 2 of them are going to have Mondays off. 2 of them are going to have Fridays off.
Yeah.
And your office staff is going to have to either
6 days a week.
Your office staff is either going to have to work 5 days a week and not switch to the 4, or you're going to have to like,
it doesn't work.
No, it does. If you have, let's say you have
20
multiple people.
Sure.
If you have 5 people in the office, you could figure this out. I think obviously we're not part of the study, and these people are a lot smarter than you and I, but I think that there are probably a lot of different ways of looking at this that are going to be a little eye-opening to people like us who are just thinking of it. This is the way it works. This is how we've always done it. Instead of, well, actually, the way we've always done it might not be the best way. You know, I'm not saying that this is a better way.
Right.
I read the article, and everybody listening, I doubt very many people, I'm guessing that many people have not read it yet, but I do encourage you to look at this subject because it's fascinating. It really is. I mean, they go on to say things like, trying to explain the improvements that people have. Like they said they examined various work experiences and health behaviors. We found that 3 factors played particularly significant roles. And those were work ability. So like self-reflection and like seeing how much you looked at what you did in a day and be like, I was very productive today.
Sure.
Sleep problems and fatigue. In other words, after moving to a 4-day work week, workers saw themselves as more capable, and they experienced fewer sleep problems and lower levels of fatigue, all of which contributed to improved well-being.
Yep.
Okay. You can imagine if you're participating in this whole study that you probably end up having to, I'm guessing that there's all kinds of like questionnaires you got to fill out probably at the end of the week, all this kind of stuff. Maybe you go online and you have to start checking boxes and stuff like that. Obviously, this isn't something that these researchers at what was it, Boston College or
something like that,
university. Yeah, obviously they I'm going to look that up because now at Boston College, obviously they aren't just going to businesses and be like, hey, we want you to just try something. Can you indulge us? You know, they came in to this with a lot of reasoning and research to back up what they were hoping to find. Right.
Right. Well, and like we've just briefly touched on, I think that there are key businesses or business models that this probably does function well in. And there are going to be those that don't. Like, could you do this in an emergency room at the hospital? No, probably not going to work. But you could, in this sense, if the emergency room had 3 or 4 shifts, right? Because then
they do have that though at hospitals. I mean, they have multiple.
Sure,
yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? Like where your rotation now is, you work Monday through Thursday, and then in 2 weeks you work Tuesday through Friday, or whatever the scenario is. And they kind of alluded to that in the article, that it's kind of geared, businesses that have that 24-hour a day model. This is just basically like trimming the shift up, right? Do you go from 5 shifts to 6? Probably. Is that big of a change? If you got 20 people working and now you have 20 people in 5 shifts versus 20 people in 6 shifts. I don't know. Maybe it's that,
Well, exactly what you're saying. That the article goes on to say this. I just found this little excerpt, and to address what you're talking about is they're talking about like they have organizations in this study now that have up to 5,000 people that are adopting it. That's a huge organization, right? And then they go on to say they don't have a lot of data on those companies yet. They're working on it. They're probably trying to figure out how to make it work, right? But there's a lot of smart people running these companies. Right. So I'm sure that outside of the study, the people there are going to be able to figure this out. And then it says, we don't think every company can do this right now, but many can. Right. The more challenging ones will be places that have optimized their processes already without resulting in burned out workers. And we think that some manufacturing companies that are highly exposed to international competition may find it challenging. So there's a whole bunch of things in here that we're probably have no idea what to even think about in the first place, right?
It's interesting. One of the comments, and it doesn't say who it was, but it says, I'll read the comment. It says, too many 4-day work weeks turned into mandatory 5-day and then mandatory 6-day work weeks in this area. I'm not sure where the area is at. Doesn't say.
Yeah.
And the reader goes on to say, I wanted the 4-day, 40-hour work week so I could spend more time with my kids and as well as to feel increased production on the job and less burnout. I think those are the reasons, like, I think that 410s works, right? Because you get that the 3 days off in a row. You're able to, for day one, you're kind of winding down, maybe going and doing something. Day two, you're whatever, doing, coming back from wherever you're going or getting a project wrapped up. And then Sunday, whatever, if you want to call it that, is your day to like prep and, be like, hey, I got a couple things I want to do and I'm ready to go back to work. Like the grass is really green in that perspective. What this reader ends up saying is, I ended up leaving all 3 of those jobs that worked 410s because of it wasn't that,
Yeah, well, I mean, our country it's not going to change overnight.
Sure.
There's a lot of people smarter than me that are out there saying like, look, we're not doing this properly. There's other models around the world that are proven to be more successful in pretty much every way you measure them. Like, people are happier, people take more time off. They're not conceding their wages based off of I need a week of vacation kind of thing.
Yep.
They're going multiple weeks at a time because they've proven the European model of like the holiday where they're taking like 3 weeks at a time. It's proven. Like, it's not even, you can't even question on the mental well-being side of things. You are happier when you can do things like that.
Yep.
But we're so, like, I don't want to get political on it, but we're fully okay in this country by suppressing wages to a point where like you have to work the maximum amount of hours available in most career paths in order to make it, because we're not paying people properly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know people are going to cringe when I say that, but I don't care what you think. It's a fact. And people are, all of us, even in the trades, everybody's like, there's job satisfaction, then there's like burnout.
Sure.
And burnout's real. Like, it's straight up. I mean, I know without getting into it, you and I talk about it occasionally, privately, as close, confidant with, like, look, this is a real thing. And it mentions that many times in that article.
Yeah.
It does say like, it does bring up healthcare, and it says like explicitly that is an industry that would probably benefit most because of burnout. Not saying it wouldn't be hard to implement this system. As you've pointed out, like, it's probably going to be very difficult for them to do it in a hospital and clinic situation. But the fact that they need to address burnout, and that's really what it seems like that's what the underlying purpose of this is in the first place, is like getting people to a point where they're not so exhausted with their job that you decrease turnover rates and you increase employee satisfaction. And to the one person or 2 people that are listening to this and be like, I don't care if my employees are not satisfied, I need them to do the job I hired them to do. Look, I get what you're saying, but you do, in my opinion, need to worry about your employees being burned out, because I'm an employer. I'm self-employed and I am burning out.
Right.
And I'm such a nincompoop, such a numbskull that I'm working 7 days a week. Like an idiot. No, burnout is real. And like, if we could see people's mental well-being and their physical health improve by changing how we structure this. And let's just be real. Like, everything seems a little scary when you don't fully, like, it's new. This doesn't seem right because it just doesn't seem, because we're not doing it now. But they didn't always work 5 days a week.
Right.
We didn't have a 40-hour work week until after World War II. Before that, they worked a lot more. Like, there's all kinds of things that have changed over time that, weren't always that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is a lot. I'm more open to learning about stuff like this, and the idea that they would try. I think it's interesting, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting, and we've had the conversation in our company before, like, how does that work? And it's it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't work in order to do the work we have. I would say this, I do not feel like my employees are not productive, right? Like I feel like my guys, we go out, we have a job that's, we have developed an understanding of this is the work that we can do in a week, right? Like this is what can be accomplished in an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like we go crazy over above that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to like always, how do we pump more out of them? And I feel like, do we get that burnout? Yeah. I mean, there's times when it's like, hey, we got a week's worth of not great jobs, but that's what's on the docket this week. And next week, maybe we got some installs, and, the week after that, maybe it's some air filter changes, where hopefully some of that balances out. Miles was saying something, what he said it last night I think it was on Monday. He had a job. He's like, I had to go to the supply house 6 times for the one job. It was just stupid, little, piddly, like repair work. And it was like, he goes, every time I turned around, there was something else that was weird. One of the trips, he went and bought a 1.25 inch by half brass bushing, gets back to the job, and the thing's got a sand hole in it. And he's like, I mean, there's no control over that. I mean, it's just whatever. So he's like, he was frustrated that the job that should have been an hour or 2 task, I think he was into it 3-4 hours. It just went longer than he was like anticipating to be there. Like even mentally, right? Like I'm not holding him to the fire because I don't know what he's going to do. Did we have a day scheduled? Yeah, we anticipated he was going to be there 2 or 3 hours, and he was there 3 or 4 hours. And that's that's service work.
Yeah, but I don't know that how many days a week you work, how that affects that, in the sense that it happens regardless of the day.
You're right. In the 410 series, it doesn't really affect it, right? We could accomplish the same 40 hours level of work. Now, and this is where I go back to this model of this, the article, is if we went to 4/8, we're going to be less productive. You can't slice that any other way.
No, you have to be more productive per hour. That's one of the biggest challenges with service work in the first place, is the amount of production you get out of a person is based off of a 5-day week, how many hours of production you have in those each day. Sure. So the average is about 6 hours. And that's high, in my opinion, to be honest. So that's how. So they're saying you get about 6 hours of people of actual work in a day, and I honestly think it's probably more about 4 or 5.
So then the math says that you lose 6 hours of production a week, and you pay the same because you're only doing 4 days a week at the same number of hours.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can look at it that. I don't think you can simplify it that quickly. I think what you have to look at is you have to try to increase productivity, and why are we not that productive? So there is some responsibility on the employer side when it comes to service companies. Like, better than any, as well as anyone, if you don't have the right tools and procedures and organization from the top down, your people are not as productive, right? You can obviously, I mean, that's not even a question. You just have to, you acknowledge that you just have to agree with that. If we aren't organized, the production suffers. Yeah. Right. So I think if you're going to take away, if your people are going to be less available to you, meaning they're going to work 2 hours less than that 10-hour shift, and they're going to work 1 full day less, you're not doing 4 10s, you're doing 8s, that kind of thing. Yep. Then the optimization has to be focused initially on processes. So I think a company like yours could actually really do it, to be honest with you. Disregard when the calls come in. I'm just saying actual organizing it. I'm confident because you two running the company, especially Cheryl, are on top of it, straight up. And would it be hard? I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I'm just saying I do believe it's actually doable. I think it takes a total change in mindset, though. And it's training by these people that can come in and say, actually, you got to do a couple things different. Yeah. Because one thing that this article doesn't touch on is how the business has changed. It's focusing on the benefit that is seen from the measurements of the metrics, right? It doesn't say, and here's how we got these companies to actually pull it off. It doesn't say that.
No.
So let's acknowledge that. And that's what we're talking about is like, how do you do it? I have no clue. I have no
Right.
clue. I'm not pretending I do, but I'm confident that it can be done.
I would be a hypocrite or a liar to say that we couldn't be more efficient in our day-to-day, right? That there are places where we can't. I will say that at some point you reach a point, and I feel like we are close to that right now. Like say, my guys work hard.
Yeah.
And
they do.
there's no question about that. I appreciate the level of effort that they put in.
They're fantastic.
Right.
Guys.
If I were to go from what we're doing now and implement this, there's no way that I couldn't say, I need you to work harder. Right. And that's the end of this is that in order for us to produce the same amount at the end of the week in 8 hours less, you have to work harder. And that's a thing that I mean, there aren't 8 hours worth of inefficiencies in my crew this week.
Oh,
do you see what I'm saying?
I'm not picking on your guys or you, but I don't think that that's true.
Yeah. Well,
I think that I think it's the little things that like they're like your example, for example. Right. And again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I think. Yeah, I'm kind of saying you're wrong. You know what I mean?
You are.
I'm not trying to argue.
Right.
I'm trying to say that like that the 5 trips to the wholesale house. Come on, that's inefficient.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 100% it is. But there's not any way to go around that.
Oh, there is. There 100%
really?
is. And nobody's going to like the answer. You got to stock everything you could ever possibly need.
Yeah. So then,
and if you can't finish the job, then you come back when you have all the parts instead of staying on it.
So then
there's different ways to look at things all the time.
Sure.
It doesn't mean it's like you don't have to like it. Yeah. Put it that way. You don't have to like it.
Yeah.
The answer isn't unicorns and rainbows.
Right.
But it is doable. That's what I'm saying. I don't want it to sound like I'm arguing like this has to happen. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say that this is the right thing to do. I do believe it's like a good path to look. It's research. They're researching it. That's all they're doing.
Sure.
It's no law. Nobody signed a presidential mandate or whatever the F they're called. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there is truth to it. In certain marketplaces, it's going to work. In other marketplaces, it's not going to work as well. My biggest concern, with things like that is you start shifting things of that nature and say, okay, we're literally going to take the number of billable hours per man in a week, and we're going to reduce it by 8. That means that in order for the company to cover all of its expenses, we have to raise our costs by 20%. We have to charge 20% more.
Well, and in this economy, it's almost as if we're on that path as it is with less and less people taking the jobs and doing the jobs that we need them to do.
Yep.
I mean,
I don't know.
You're currently full-time back out in the field, not by any doing of your own and not by choice necessarily, right? Like it's an option you have kept open. Like you didn't sell the van and be like, I can't work out in the field anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's because that it's harder and harder to find proper, fill the jobs properly and with the right people and your turnover rate is about as low as it gets.
Yeah.
Like it really is. I mean, you're talking like years.
Sure.
Your turnover rate you can't calculate it.
Yeah. I don't think
that's basically.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had anybody that's worked for me less than 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when you open the credit score app and you're like, your score is 847 and it says, well, we don't have any suggestions. You're as good as it gets. It doesn't, 850 is the spot. So you can't improve. Like that's your turnover rate within Mickelson Plumbing and Heating. Right. So like I don't know. I think that there's a lot missing to this conversation that we aren't fully grasping. I wonder if somebody's listening to this whole time, probably just pulling their hair out going, that's how my company does it.
Right.
I bet you there are people listening that say, yeah, we work either 410s or we don't, maybe they work 4 8s.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I bet you there's I knew of apprentices that I went through the program with that didn't work 5 days a week. Now, I don't remember if they were working 410s, most likely.
Yeah.
But I remember they worked for companies that's how they operated. Like everybody had a 3-day weekend. It was either you were off on Monday or you're off on Friday.
Yep. No, I mean, there's a couple of companies here in town. I mean, construction companies. They're not service oriented that are, they work 410s, but there's a lot of time of the year where they're working 510s, because there's like, hey, the stuff's got to get done and we're willing to pay you the overtime and, you're going to make $1,000 on Friday. And, do you want to come work on Friday? We're working 510s.
It'd be interesting to see more about this topic. Honestly, I really think that there's just way more to it.
I think there is. I think just as a freaking jab to everything, because there's going to be somebody that's going to have that comment. I read in the comments. There's somebody, faithful doucheness, says, sounds like a three.
Do you think that that's how it's said?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's DUSHNESS. How you could say that however you want. It says, sounds like a 3-day work week with no pay cut would be even better for humans.
Yeah.
If we're looking at goals, 0 days a week with the same level of income would be outstanding.
I read that same comment and I chuckled. I did. I laughed at it. I thought it was funny. Yeah, there was some good comments, and honestly, like this study that we're talking about, there's probably others,
dozens, if not more.
But this one says that what did they say? 3,000 people.
I think that was in the study. Yeah.
Yeah.
Over 6 months.
that's a lot. And then also real quick before we go, it does say that they're measuring this throughout time and after the study ended too, to see where, and companies kept this policy in place, by the way, many of them, and to see if it was just like, hey, is this shiny and new? Are you just happy because it's an immediate change?
Well, just think,
and they're pointing out that no, it's like lasting.
Just think about what the employment numbers would look like if they said, you know what, this didn't work, we're going back to 40s.
Yeah,
no one's going to work there. I guarantee you. If they were like, well, wait a minute, you were paying us, $2,000 a week to work 32 hours a week, but now you want us to go back to 40s because that didn't work?
Right.
Sorry, guys.
No.
You don't get to go backwards. This is a one-way street. It's a thought.
I know. It's interesting. It's interesting. There was one comment on there that didn't make any sense, and I wanted to reply to it, but I didn't.
There's a couple in here that are like, oof.
Yeah.
Did you read the one about OSHA?
OSHA is, that's what I was going to say. OSHA is probably going to mandate the regular work week as 7 days, 65 hours per week. You get 5 hours off on Sunday mornings to go to brunch. Also mandatory. Maybe that's a tongue-in-cheek comment, but that's not how OSHA works, by the way. OSHA doesn't say that you have to work. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting. That's why I brought it up to you, and we both felt at least enough to talk about it. Ramble on and on for 30 minutes, but it's something. I mean, I think we need to be. Well, it is. I think you need to think about stuff that's outside your comfort zone. I think you need to look at the news and not just politics or like what, I saw this headline pop up. I'm like, wait a minute. No, 8 hours, not 10, and you're not cutting pay? Huh. I want to read this. You know what I mean? It was eye-opening, and it wasn't political, and it was like, this is like the results we found, and they're pretty freaking positive. And also the companies, by the way, which we didn't mention, the companies reported increased productivity, and they too found that, once they adjusted to the challenges of managing it all and like instituting it, they found that it was like a positive. Many, like I said, most of them are sticking with it. At least that's what the article that is independent from the study points out. I didn't read the study. I should read the study.
Yeah.
I don't know. Required reading.
Right.
All right. Is that enough on that subject?
I think so.
I think Mickelson Plumbing. I made this prediction in the past. I think Mickelson Plumbing is going to go to a 4-day
work week. Yeah. Well, maybe.
You never know. You never know what the future.
In the summertime, it probably could work.
It'd be hard to switch back and forth, though.
It would. And with three of us, right? I mean, it's like, it doesn't make sense.
What if you worked Fridays and your guys worked Monday through Thursday?
Well, I guarantee you. Well, I will also work Monday. That it doesn't. It will not. There is zero possibility that.
Oh, don't speak so absolutely.
There's zero possibility.
Well, if you decide that, then you're right.
Because I just knowing the way that business operates, if I have crew working on Monday, and I'm theoretically not, I will not be working Monday, or I will be working Monday. That's maybe not out in the field, but I absolutely will be as logistical support working Monday, because there will be things that the office can't shut down to not support staff in the field. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Logistically, it will not work. There will be, if you want to talk about the level of inefficiency, will be when your staff that's in the field doesn't have office support on 1 day a week. Does that make sense? Like, so they would be supported at that point 3 days, or the 3 days a week.
Yeah, I think that's a separate discussion altogether, and a challenge that comes with the idea of this study in the first place. I think, like I pointed out earlier, changes in how things are managed are obviously a big part of this. It's not like, oh, we're just going to work 8 hours now. Good luck.
Right.
No, you have to change what's happening. That's a fact.
The only way that working, that if you were going to take the office and go to 410s and do a shift setup, your office staff would also have to have an additional shift come into play.
Yeah, that's the only way it would work. You'd have to have people in the office that don't work on Mondays, people in the office that don't, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. Maybe it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe you take Tuesdays and I don't know. You wouldn't want to put them in the middle of the week.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. But
see how interesting it is? We can't even stop talking about it. You see what I'm saying though? Like, it's interesting. I think there's a lot to learn. Let's just acknowledge that from all sides.
Right.
And whether or not something like this is doable in our industry. And our industry isn't really any different than any other. It's just whatever. All right.
Yep.
Everybody, make sure you rate us in your podcast app, please. That's all I'm going to say. Please do that. We haven't had a rating for a little while. I'd love to see one pop up. And you can text us. Okay, that wasn't all I was going to say. You can also text us your feedback on this and anything else we've talked about in the past. It's always open. It's free. You can text us. We don't get your number or anything like that, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay,
you cool?
Works like what we're looking for.
It's Wednesday, so you've got 8 hours to do today, and then you have one more day of the week, and you're done.
That's right. No, but we're only right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One more day after today.
Okay. See you on Friday.